Hi guys, welcome to Prepare Like a Pro live chats. My name's Jack McLean. I started Prepare Like a Pro early in the year when I was stood down as a strength and conditioning coach at Hawthorn Football Club. I'm currently working with men and females all around the country, structuring their physical preparation for games, draft combine and off-season pre-season training. If you're interested in training with me, you can head over to my website. I have training packages that you can work with me one-on-one, as well as free training programs, and that website's preparelikeapro.com. I want to welcome my guest tonight, Edward Deledio. For those that don't know, Brett, he's a former number one draft pick, played 275 AFL games for Richmond Tigers and the GWS Giants. He was a development coach at Hawthorn Football Club. That's where I met Brett. And he's now a player management for Max Sports Agency. So thanks for joining us, mate.
Oh, pleasure, Jackie boy. Always fun jumping on with you, mate. So, let's see where we can get to with our little chat.
Yeah, for sure. What have we got at the moment? 31 joining us. And there's a few more adding on. So you bring in the numbers, mate.
That's good, mate. That's good.
All right, we'll kick it off. So I'd like to start back at your grassroots. Where did you play? So where was your first club and what age?
Mate, my first club was the Wallabies, mate. That was in Maryborough, under 13s team. And would you believe this little team had, I was lucky enough to play with Troy Chaplin, who I played with at Richmond, but it was also at Port Adelaide. And Jed Adcock was in that team as well, who went up to play with 200 games with the Lions. So, mate, we were pretty handy. We didn't lose too often. That was the under 13s. I started when I was 8 and played there for a couple of years until we moved from Maryborough back up to Kai Abram, and I played as a 11 or 12-year-old in the under 12s and then under 14s, under 16s. I wanted to go straight into the thirds, mate, but the old man wouldn't let me. He said, no, you got to stay in the under 16s and go a year there in the under 16s, but then went from 16 straight into the seniors and skipped the thirds in the end. But that was my Kai journey. But in between, mate, I played with the Bushrangers as a bottom ager, a 16-year-old, and then as a top ager, not top ager, but a bottom ager, 17-year-old, and then I was drafted at the end of that year. So, yeah, mate, it went pretty quick. I wish I could go back and do it all again, but that's where you learn everything, I suppose, back in as a pup, and mate, plenty of lessons with Dad post game. That's for sure, mate. I certainly thought I had it all sorted, but didn't.
Yeah, you get the review as soon as you got in the car.
That's it, mate. It'd be the whole way home. Nothing worse than when I was playing with the Bushies in under 18s, and we were 3 hours away from Lavington.
Yeah.
And that is a long review post game.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You got to make sure you're playing well on those games.
So that prepared you well for AFL footy, I imagine. Getting those on the weekly.
The long meetings, mate. Yeah, the long meetings, mate. There was no worries there with being in the car. But no, mate. I can't thank Dad enough for what he taught me, mate. He made me the player I am, so very grateful to the old boy.
Fantastic. And when did you see AFL career as something that you were going to do from a professional point of view? Like what age?
I probably started to realise that I could have a real crack at it. I won the best player at the under 16 championships I shared it with Mitch Clark, and I was sort of like, maybe I can go okay at this. And I was left out of the Vic under 15 cricket side as well, so I was sort of toying with the idea of playing one or the other because I love both sports. And so I left cricket behind, so to speak. I didn't leave it behind. I still played right up until I was drafted, and then even when I was drafted, I kept going back to Kyle and played a little bit. But fully focused on footy from about probably 16, 17 when I made the AIS team and went through from there.
And how did that change your experience? Like you alluded to before, they were fun days playing footy. As soon as you made that shift where you're like, all right, I'm ready to give this red hot crack and be a pro, did that change things in terms of expectations and enjoyment for the game?
Yeah, it's hard to know, mate. Like I was still a kid just trying to be the best player on the ground every single game you play. That was always my goal, to try and help us win and just try and play good footy. But I always was pretty diligent in terms of my running and programs and weights and everything that I needed to do.
Yep.
So that was never really a worry for me. And I had a lot of mates that enjoyed a party and a beer and whatever else. And I just knew where I wanted to go with my footy. So I sort of was like, well, I can still go to parties. There's no worries, but drinking and all that sort of thing was sort of something that I had to leave behind. There were still times when I did, no doubt. I'm not saying I was an angel, but footy was always first, and I'd never ever go out the night before a game of footy.
That was something your dad sort of ingrained into you, or that was just the way you were?
No, Dad was always like, mate, how do you expect to perform if you're going out and being on your feet all night and dancing and carrying on until midnight and then come out and wanting to play? I since found out, though, that the old boy had a couple of big nights before, a couple of games before. So I've asked him about those, mate. Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right, we'll rip into these Q&As.
I see Walksies just asking, coming to play for a Chuka, mate. Yeah, I'll happily come and play with you, great man. Absolutely.
Yeah, if there's a fair few that have come through, we'll go, what's this one? What's one of the biggest tips you could give a VFL player looking to make a step to AFL? This one from Brody Macca.
Jeepers, that's a tough one. Like, I think it's more about just how you train and prepare yourself. Like it's a cutthroat industry. If you're battling away in the VFL, you probably need to ask yourself your coaches some real questions, or your dad or whoever watches you, and just get some honest feedback and be prepared to do whatever it takes to work on that. If you're slow, then I'd employ a sprint coach. If you're lacking in fitness, well, speak to someone who does athletics, 400, 800s, and see what sort of training they do. If you need to do power-based stuff and weight stuff, well, speak to someone like yourself, But if it's just pure football ability, like it makes it really hard to, if you can't find it, mate, you can't find it, So,
yeah, absolutely.
It's sort of like there's so many different angles you could go with that.
Yeah, but seeking advice is a big one from those in your support.
Ask questions about how I can get better, and don't be afraid to cop it right between the eyes. That was something that I always asked of my dad, asked of Dimmer, Leon, whoever, any of my coaches. Was like, no, don't butter it up and tell me I'm going good, but I know I'm not. And just say, right, how do I get better?
What do I need to do? Yeah, awesome. Love that. I reckon that will put Brody in good stead. Take that on board, mate. Jesse's, what's the best 2K time trial you've ever run?
It's a funny one. I've been talking to a couple of young boys about this that we've been dealing with, and there's so much pressure about 2Ks that kids see.
There is, isn't it?
That's what they do at the obviously at the combines, and to me, mate, I think that's something that you can really work on when you're when you actually get to the club. If you can run the sub-7, you're actually going pretty well. And the work that you'll do with your club, you'll actually bring that right down to a 6:30. My best, I think, was a 6:21. And mate, I'm not gifted at all long distance stuff. My go was repeat speed 150s, 200s. But myself and Dustin used to try and push each other through on those 2Ks and just make sure we just got under the time that was required, and then we can come out and beat it well and truly when the whips are really cracking.
Yeah, in the new year.
Yeah, that's it, mate. You don't want to be you don't want to be flying early, mate. There's nowhere to go from there.
That's maturity right there. All right, there you go, Jesse. That's a target for you, mate. Sub-7. Charlie, do you remember where? Do you know this guy, Charlie Lawson?
No idea. But he's probably one of the blokes that comes up to. I mean, I've had people come and ask me this rubbish question at the checkout when I'm trying to buy milk and bread.
Your podcast with Dylan Buckley. I've jumped on board with Dylan's podcast the last few weeks.
No, mate, that's a question that's been answered. And Dylan was a backman, so he never took anyone to no square.
He was tagging you, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he tried. Yeah.
George, how to get picked up by an AFL club as an 18-year-old that has no tap cup your VFL experience as of yet, so you're out of the system playing community footy?
Yeah, that's a good question. It probably makes it a little bit hard. If you wanted to, I'd suggest that you jump on board with a VFL side and see whether you can get down there and train with them, and then apply your trade there and see how you go. If you're good enough to make it into the VFL side, mate, and you can play good footy, and consistently play good footy, there's no reason why you won't get picked up. I think we've seen a number of players. Kane Lambert's probably the first one that comes to mind for me, who plied his trade for 4 years, I think, before he got picked up by the Tigers, and now he's one of their most consistent players. So I don't think you'll get picked up if you continue to play community footy at your local levels. There's people watching, but it's a harder way.
Yeah.
It's not to say it's not to say you can't, because it has been done. But I think if you really want to chase it, get down to a VFL club and see whether you can cut it, make it through the list cuts and see whether you're fit enough and have a real crack at it.
Yep, yeah, I like it. So, yeah, there's no point sort of dominating at a lower level. You want to sort of expose yourself to the highest level you can play, yeah?
Yeah, go and challenge yourself and see how good you are.
Awesome. And this one's from Harry. Is it ever too late to start? Jeremy Cameron when he was 15, managed to become one of the best. Is that continued on that question?
I know, Harry. I actually trained him in the one-on-one footy stuff that I was doing. So a young bloke trying to get better, which is great, mate. Never too late to start. I don't think I'd be comparing myself to Jeremy Cameron, mate, because he's an absolute freak at absolute everything he tries. But yes, mate, if you want to get out there and have a crack and see whether you can mix it up, I'd start at probably school, buddy, if I was you, and see whether you can make the C's, the B's, and the A's if you can, and see where your footy takes you. But yeah, don't wait until you're 40 or 50, mate. Then it probably is a bit too late.
Yeah, nice one. Harry's still hungry, picking up tips off you. It's good to see he's joined tonight. And then we got Oz Trail running at your club in the gym. Would you train lower and upper body on different days or together?
At the club.
You've been at a couple of different clubs there. So the Richmond
Yep.
and GWS, did they have different strength and conditioning?
Well, early days I can probably tell you that I didn't do legs at all because I thought that they'd actually hamper my performance because I'd be too sore and whatever else until I started doing them in about, I think it was 07 or 08. So my first couple of years, I don't reckon I did too many. I did, but I bluffed my way through, so to speak.
Yep.
And then I started doing them and started feeling really powerful and strong. And yeah, I never looked back from that until I started to have really like calf issues and lower back problems and whatever else. And I backed off and probably went more the plyometrics, speed, power stuff, along with a bit of maintenance stuff for glutes and Achilles, but probably wouldn't have done a full body workout until I was a lot older, where I just squeezed it all into, I don't do weights once or twice a week probably.
Yeah.
My last 3 years, I don't think I might have done a set of bench and a set of chins, and that was the only weights I did because I was doing upper body cross trains as well with ropes and grinders and ski ergs and all that sort of stuff just to take the load off my legs. So, okay. I'd definitely say, and you probably back this up, Jack, in that you probably mix them up depending on your days and when you're training. I'd be putting legs on your days that you're on your legs and then your upper body on your days that you're not, just so that you're not taxing, you're not working your body throughout the whole week. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're getting that time between running sessions. That's definitely key. Try and hit your lower body weights after your running days. But it is interesting. I mean, here Sydney do it a little bit differently, so there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. I guess it depends on what works for you.
I've heard Pendles he does a set of deadlifts or something the day before a game just to fire himself up. But that's something I never tried.
Yeah, power session the day before. I have heard that. It's big at the
I used to like pumping the guns, mate, the day before, but that was it.
Feel good. Yeah, love it. Who's the best bloke you've worked with? Tommy Mack? Is he someone at Mack Sports? Is he?
Yeah, he's my little offsider. I'm probably his offsider at Mack Sports. He's teaching me the ropes at the moment. So
fantastic.
Good man.
Nice. Yeah, Tommy, you got to pump up, mate. Would you want to go on a podcast?
Yeah, no, I've signed a contract with Dylan Friends, mate. I'm apart from Prepare Like a Pro, I can't do any others. Really sorry, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Do you miss Tiger Landleads? I think we've got a Tiger supporter.
Yeah, I reckon that. Yes, mate, absolutely. I think back of all the fond memories I've had back there, from starting off in the old sheds to then moving across, and all the great mates that I've had over the years, and a couple that I've still got there now. It's changed quite a bit though. The boys that are there now, so it's getting fewer and fewer, and even the coaches that I had are all starting to move on as well. So Dimmer's probably stood the test of time here, and at the moment he's got 10 years, and going bloody well at the moment. He's flying.
Yeah, they're up and about the Tigers.
Yes, mate. They're every chance to make it 3 out of 4 this weekend.
And here we got one around dirt bike riding.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, I know Steve. Mate, I haven't ridden my dirt bike since 2017. I went away pig shooting, actually, and took a dirt bike up there. I haven't ridden it since, so it's currently in the workshop getting cleaned up, ready for when I can get out of Melbourne, mate. Yeah, I'm actually I'm going to do a dirty big mono all the way over that steel barrier that Dan's got in place, and I'll be straight out of here, that's for sure.
Rip through. I'm sure you won't be alone with that one. we'll go. How much did training differ between teams? We'll wrap this up to the last Q&A. That's between Richmond and GWS.
Yeah, it was. I was starting it's hard because when I first started at Richmond, I was a young bloke who just wanted to do everything, and then later on, I got looked after a bit more because I was starting to get a bit older and I had a few calf problems and whatever else. But then when I went to the Giants, the first 6 weeks there, I was like flogging myself in terms of trying to impress and whatever else. And the boys trained really hard there. They got worked over. But then I ran into some issues as well with my calves and probably didn't look after myself as well as I could have in terms of just saying, this is not right for me. I needed to be a bit careful, but I was trying to impress, so I didn't really feel right doing that. But yeah, the Giants probably, it's hard to know how the Tigers train now, but from when I was there, under Dimmer, Dimmer was really big on competitiveness and the Giants are no different. And with Plough, it was all about up and down the ground. I remember being at Vic Park and doing a 3-on-3, the length of the ground up and back. It was like absolutely. It was like 2.5 to 3 hour sessions. It was just a real old school sort of training, which was, I missed it a little bit. I wish I could go back, but
it brings the group together. Is that the idea? Like build sort of team camaraderie?
Not really. No. It was just like this is where we're going, mate, and we're
suck it up and get it done.
Suck it up and do the work, mate, and that's how we get better.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, mate. And then so player management, so new career for you. What got you into that? What are you excited about, and what are you looking forward to for 2021?
Well, mate, it was basically because I tried my hand at development coaching and with the Hawks, and that's where I obviously met you, mate. It was something that I was passionate about, working with young guys and developing them. But then with COVID hitting and the cuts that have came, I was one of 5 or 6 guys in the footy department that just got stood down. And I saw it from the early point that I didn't think that they'd be bringing us back. I don't know whether I read the tea leaves right or I was just doing the math. But I got straight onto my manager and saw it as a real opportunity to still work with young guys and help develop them. From a management point of view, you look after a lot of the financials and everything else as well, but also mentor them and help them through and help them become best prepared from, when they're 17 through to when they're drafted initially, and then obviously looking after them post that as well. But mate, and this is what I say to all our young boys we've got on board, is that I've been through it. I know what it's like to have that pressure of being drafted in, as a high draft pick, what it's like, the pressure you're dealing with, and how we can really, ease that for you just through talking about it and little ways to deal with it, But
helps to have a soundboard, doesn't it?
I think so, mate. Yeah, look, it's and that's what I've always found with any of my footy, is to have someone that you can bounce off, whether you've got a coach that you can trust or my old man was someone who I'd always talk to. But then later in my career, I had an ex-skipper of mine, and Kane Johnson became almost like my mentor. Someone who I really looked up to and bounced a lot of ideas off. And then when I moved to the Giants, it was Wayne Campbell, and he was someone, he was like a leadership coach and a midfield coach of mine at the Tigers after I played my first season, his last season together. And he was someone who's become like a best mate that you can bounce ideas off, get just another sounding board. And that's something that I'm trying to do with my young boys that we look after, is just to say, right, well, if you've got any concerns, let's talk through them and see how we can help and whatever else. But then once they are drafted, mate, it's all about sorting them out with budgets and how to work their money and how it can work for them, how to control, different things that are going on in their life, and then setting them up if they're interstate or looking after mum and dad and setting them all up. So,
it's a massive year, isn't it? Like, it's not just the draft year. It's even bigger maybe the year after when you do get integrated into football.
And that's it, mate. Look, there's things that you can really be worried about and stressing about as a young pup. Like I was myself, but having a manager you can talk to and help alleviate those fears, I think can only help, especially having someone who's been through it before.
Absolutely.
Mate, it's we're just going along nicely at the moment, mate. I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait for I haven't even been in the role 4 months yet, and already really loving it, mate, which is good. So stick at it and see where it takes us from here on in.
Yeah, and so boys will. So for those that are interested, they get in contact with you through Instagram. Where else?
Anyway, mate. Anyway.
direct message yourself?
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, hit up our website, email. It's all on my bio and our Max Sports bio on Instagram. Yeah, mate, it's...
And what's for those that haven't had a manager before, so the first process is either you get in contact with them or they get in contact with yourself, and then what's a classic way to start? Like, is it a meeting at the moment through Zoom, and you talk about their game, and what's some of the things that you'll do early on with a new athlete, new client?
Well, mate, it's basically, I think the beauty of, the beauty and the ugliness of COVID is that we're always on Zoom. I much prefer to be face to face and, going out for a coffee and really getting to know the guys. But mate, we do a pair of work in terms of the young kids that we look for and want to bring into our stable, so to speak. And we send out letters to those guys. But if there's people out there that we haven't and they're keen to, mate, reach out, because we'd love to have a chat and say hello and whatever else. But yeah, mate, the first one is a chat, and we do a fair bit of work on the young blokes to see how good of footballers they are and watch their vision and get to know them as people.
Oh, yeah. So you do that as well, so you can give feedback on their game and
absolutely.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's massive resource. And what would be the youngest athlete that you'd work with? When do you typically start with them?
Mate, you're not allowed to sign any of these young pups up until their draft year. So, but you can speak to them the year they turn 16 after they're national champs. So that'd be the youngest that you talk to. But mate, you don't sign anyone until you're 17. So the day after when they turn, they're ready for their draft. They're eligible for their draft.
Yeah. And Sports Mac, it was somewhere that was the agency that you were...
Max Sports, yeah.
Max Sports, yeah.
Yeah, so I was with these guys. I signed on with these guys the year before I was drafted. When I was eligible to sign on, and had been with them ever since.
Fantastic.
So, Macca, Tommy, who I was talking about before, Tommy's old man he's a head honch. He's become like a good friend of mine, mate. He was at my wedding and whatever else, and that's the sort of company that we're trying to build, Tommy and myself. Relationship based, mate, where you feel like you can talk and you're not worried about what your manager's going to say. We're just a couple of blokes that are really keen to look after these young guys and help them make the most of their careers.
Fantastic, mate. It's really good to hear. It's good to hear things are going well, and it's definitely exciting times at the moment for 2021. Hopefully some footy comes sooner rather than later.
Oh, mate, tell me about it.
And you'll get on that dirt bike, mate, and get on out of here.
Yeah, well, that's the plan, mate. That's the plan. But I appreciate you having me on, Jackie boy, and we'll no doubt do it again sometime.
Absolutely, mate. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we were some help, guys. I'm sure it was. There was some huge information to help you guys along your journey. If there's any questions that you have, feel free to direct message myself. And if you're interested in being managed by Brett Deledio, make sure you get in touch. Thanks, guys. Cheers, Brett. Speak soon, Lids.
See you, mate.